Next on Beyond the Blockchain, the state of blockchain and cryptocurrency in 2022 with founding partner of Draper Holm, Alon Goren.
There's 30 times the number of people on the internet discussing crypto.
Plus, Alon's take on NFTs, regulation, Bored Apes, and how crypto is like punk rock music.
Like, dude, you're a poser. That's not real punk rock, man.
Alon Goren is the founder of venture blockchain studio Draper Holm. He's also the co-founder of the LA Blockchain Summit. Don't worry if you missed this year's summit. He's here to break it all down for us. This year's LA Blockchain Summit, I think it's safe to say that it was a wild success.
Yes, it was incredible. We wish that we would have gotten to be back at the LA Convention Center again, but that'll happen next year. We did it virtually. It was incredible. We had people from around the world speaking, and even more importantly, we had people from around the world participating and watching and engaging, and that was the best part.
And you've done it 6 or 7 years now?
Yeah, we started it many years ago at the LA Convention Center, and the main topic back then was crowdfunding. And very quickly, by 2016, it was purely crypto. We had changed the name to Crypto Invest Summit, then LA Blockchain Summit later. But yeah, we've been doing it for about 7 years now.
And do you notice the numbers obviously growing as more and more people become aware about crypto and blockchain?
The numbers have not only grown over time, but even just the last 2 years since COVID and everything, we actually were crunching the numbers. We're big fans of Lunar Crush, one of our portfolio companies. We were looking at the numbers, and from the last time we had our in-person event to today, there's 30 times the number of people on the internet discussing crypto. So the space in general is just blown up over the last 2 years. And so it's exciting to see. I can't wait to get back in person again and go, okay, how big will the 5,000 person in-person conference change to, right? Like, is it gonna be 20,000 people? Is it gonna be 5,000 people, but just different people, different types? It's really fun to see how it's growing.
And it's growing so exponentially. Like you said, you changed the name from crypto to blockchain because now it's really this umbrella for so many different areas in the space, right?
Exactly, and our conference too was always really, we tried to be professional in that, like, although we are a bunch of misfits and weirdos and we are the crypto people, we tried to like not, we wouldn't allow people to just park like a Lambo on the expo floor for no reason other than Lambo, right? And in crypto, that's kind of part of the thing, and that's one of the memes, and it's fun. But like, you know, we wanted people to be there with a purpose. So we were one of the more professional conferences, so it makes sense that as NFTs come in, we always allowed people, artists that were doing stuff in the space, to display their art at our conference. So NFTs are a big subject, but also in LA, there's a bunch of finance people and legal people that come to our event. So we always wanted to focus on security tokens and securities and things like that. So there's sort of the whole gamut. So it's not only crypto. That's one of the reasons.
You wanted to be the adults in the space.
We did, which, you know, sometimes it's not exactly our personalities, but you know, the 3 days a year I wear a suit is at our conference. And
right.
So, it's we try to be professional, and we want, you know, the whole idea is to bring more people into the industry, not just hang out with our friends. So to bring more professional people into the industry, we have to act that way and treat the industry a little more mature than it is maybe.
Well, that's why it's so great, because, you know, at your conference you have, like you brought up, the NFT space where you have people selling apes and pineapples and whatever, and then you have securities and you have people from the SEC explaining regulatory stuff. I mean, you really run the gamut. How do you kind of organize such a fast-moving?
What's really funny is so much of it is last minute because of our industry. One, whether we want to or not, people don't respond till the last minute. We don't know what's going on till the last minute, and out of necessity. But the thing that's crazy is until about 2 years ago, the whole event was organized by just Joseph and I, just my partner and I.
Wow.
And every other person that was working at the event was like a contractor for like the last 2 weeks. Right? And so we sold every sponsorship, we invited every speaker, we did everything. And only in the last 2 years, and even just about 6 months ago, maybe a little longer, we hired Matt on our team, who we stole from Disney to be our director of events. And now since then, he's actually become our COO because he's been great. And only then did we actually start bringing in outside people to help us organize the events, because it was also the personal hands-on part of it is was really valuable to us. That's where we found companies to invest in. That's where we found co-investors. And the evolution of what we've done sort of went from us just organizing a conference because we love the space to, oh wow, we could use this conference to actually make this our full-time job.
Yeah.
And so that's what
exciting.
helped us dive into this really deeply.
One of the biggest themes in the conference, but in general, obviously everybody is looking toward 2022 and what is the landscape going to look like? And you had so many speakers talk about what the future will hold, the near future. Just give us kind of an overview of what was discussed. I mean, right now, obviously everybody's a little on pins and needles as far as regulation and regulatory concerns. Yeah,
it's really, it's interesting to talk to different people around the world about the regulatory environment, because like we have a lot of our close associates and business partners that live and work in the UAE, as an example, where regulation is much more clear. It's still being clarified and being created, but it's much more clear. And then we have a bunch of younger DAOs and groups like that. People are creating these decentralized organizations who don't give a crap what the regulation is, because they're just going to do what they think is right. And then there's people like us that are in the United States that have families and can't break the rules because we've chosen to live here and we don't want to go to jail. And there's certain things you have to do.
Seems like a smart business
and then
move.
there's the whole spectrum of everywhere else around the world. And a big topic always is U.S. regulation. We had the former SEC chair speak. We had a current SEC chair speak, and then we learned from them. We always have Hester Peirce speak, and she's amazing. People call her the crypto mom, and she kind of brings a voice of reason to the crypto space and to the SEC. But at the end of the day, it's really unclear and it's really tough for Americans. And for the first time ever, we're seeing Americans actually leave. Like you've seen this probably your whole life. I've seen it my whole life, where everyone's like, if this person wins the election, I'm moving to Canada. Or if this thing happens, I'm going to Europe. And it's all BS, right? It's all of our friends just like, maybe like letting off some steam. But in the crypto space, it is the first time ever where I'm actually meeting Americans, and when you ask them where they are, they're in Singapore, they're in Dubai, they're in Thailand, they're in Switzerland, they're in just outside of the US on purpose because they're scared of crypto regulation. They're not doing anything wrong. They're not like pushing the envelope in terms of anything anyone should be worried about. But the US regulation is written a certain way, and it's the uncertainty that's pushing them out.
So can you see the landscape in the US changing rapidly this year? Do you think we're going to catch up, or are we going to lose out because we will have kind of a brain drain of these people leaving?
I think that we will probably we are losing out already, and we will lose out some more. But I'm confident in the US's ability to always innovate and get better, and I hope that it's founded confidence or whatever, because I was raised by immigrants in this country, and they came here because it was a better place to live, and I believe that, and I still think it's a better place to live than most of the world. But with technology and with sort of the borders becoming less important, at least, right? You're realizing you could live other places and still live a really, really great life, and maybe even a better life, I don't know. But I think that there is opportunity still here, and I love living here, and I'm gonna always live here. But I hope that it changes. But you see things, and I try not to go into too many specifics, but at least one specific government representative you see for local here in Southern California, Brad Sherman, who talks against crypto all the time. And most of what he says is not true.
No, I don't think he fully understands.
No, I think that politicians fall into two categories, and I think I stole this from some comedian, I don't remember what, they always would say about politicians, they call them stupid or liars. I don't think he's stupid, because I don't think he'd be in the position he is until now. So I think he knows he's lying. He knows he's not being genuine. But if you look at who pays for him to be in office, it's the largest financial institutions in the world. So who pays his paycheck, right? So we look at that, but he's the head of the Investor Protections Committee. And he's not protecting anyone. He's actually hurting the American public by not allowing them to participate, or telling them they shouldn't participate in something that could be life-changing for them. And I don't think that that's fair, and I don't think that that's right. And on the politics spectrum, I probably agree with him on most other things.
Right.
But it doesn't matter, right? Like what's true and what's not is just not okay.
Let's talk about that for a minute. The idea that, institutions are obviously waking up and they're seeing there's a lot of money that's left on the table, and they are trying to participate in some way. How do you see institutions getting into the crypto game?
To me, institutions are like a double-edged sword, because I still internally am that like punk rock anarchist kid who like wants to just say like F the system and whatever, and like we shouldn't even like care what they do.
You don't want the man involved.
But at the same time, we can see what the man can do in terms of public participation. They can scare people. They can write laws that scare me from doing what I think is right. And that's not okay. So you do want the institutions to participate. And, from that perspective at least, and as an industry, if I want it to mature, if I want the technology to be used in the ways I want it to be used, some of the banks are going to have to adopt it, and it needs to be done. So I think the regulatory uncertainty is getting in the way, but I think that at a minimum, the cat is out of the bag with Bitcoin and Ethereum. And if the world's largest financial institutions are literally looking at Canada to create an ETF because the US won't let them, it's a game over, right? Because for me, or let's say not me, I'm a weirdo, but like I go and ask a friend from high school. I go ask my brother, who's a normal financial planner, that he's older than me, and all of his people, most of his clients are retired. And what do they care if they're buying a product that's based in Canada or the US?
No.
Not at all, right? So US is only hurting themselves at this point with those things. And I think the institutions, they've found their way in, right? Like Michael Saylor is buying all the Bitcoin, right?
He's making more money that way than with his actual company.
And there's no Bitcoin ETF, but there's a public company that has basically all of its value in Bitcoin because of him.
Right.
And so, the institutions are doing the workarounds we've all been doing for the last few years. And so it's inevitable, Fidelity and Citi and all of the major banks are here. They are buying Bitcoin. They are participating and making these products available to their clients. So from that perspective, it's game over. So that makes me confident that the regulation will catch up, because they're the ones who put the regulators in their positions.
In their positions, right.
Coming up on Beyond the Blockchain, how Alon responds to the crypto world kind of being a dude party.
That's actually been one of the best things about NFTs, is it's actually helped the diversity of the industry in general.